Hi, everybody. Welcome to the channel. Today, I want to talk about this concept of coddling or helping somebody in terms of giving them support or something such as emotional validation, but specifically coddling. I think we have to start by understanding that the majority of the population, the world's population, has some variation of trauma. Whether we see it or not, whether or not we have shoved it so far inside that we're really truly unable to see it, or whether we're really well aware of it and we're getting the best treatment for our trauma as possible, which currently is not very good. The best trauma work and trauma healing lies outside of the medical field. I feel confident to say that for the most part. It's a lot of the people that I work with, and my experience in the medical field for many, many years has proven to me that this is just not something that we're really truly beginning to understand until more recently. Coddling, giving somebody support. I work with many people who, when they're on their journey towards their own healing or self-realization or wanting to just be happier or more fulfilled or just seeking to learn about themselves, let's say that. Often they may go to a professional, they may seek out counsel from a friend, they may even go to a coach. There's a lot of opportunities and options to get support. But I think there's a fine line and a very clear line of demarcation we need to draw here between people who are supporting you, who don't really maybe have not really reached the level of emotional intelligence within themselves to guide you in a way to maybe see more broadly than you're seeing, as opposed to what I see happening now very often, especially I think within the healthcare community, but even with friends, we do this a lot, is we seek out the person who's going to give us the support that feels the best. And this may have a purpose. And in fact, modern thought leaders, a lot of even spiritual teachers and even people in the healthcare field, it's almost as if they haven't done the level of work within themselves. And it feels better for them as the guide to help the other person, right? We never want to let the person leave in a greater state of suffering than they came to see us in, right? So I think that if we can kind of diminish suffering on both ends in that kind of relationship, it feels like the best possible outcome. And I have very strong opinions about this, because I've lived it myself, and I live it and have seen the effects of seeking out and utilizing this concept of confirmation bias, seeking out what you already want to hear, or not really truly connecting with the people who are going to show you, share with you without fear, a broader perspective of what maybe you can see in the moment, no matter how it's going to feel. Okay, so again, many thought leaders and people in the world today who are on this journey to deeper, truer, authentic self propagate vulnerability. Okay, the thing with vulnerability is this. I think it's okay if you've been predominantly left-brained and an overly intellectual analyzer, overthinker, to get in touch with that side of you that can stop and breathe and connect and realize, oh my God, I haven't been open. I've been living my life this way. And now I have to give myself an overabundance of compassion, and that's where I need to stay. That's it right there, folks. Navigating through this life and balancing yourself, right? Maybe again, you're that overachiever. You've never permitted yourself time to be truly open and vulnerable and be compassionate with yourself. It's great. Integrate that within yourself. Use compassion for others. Start to experience what it's like to not be so one hemisphered. But then you don't stop there, because what's going to happen is you're going to want to continue to integrate and grow. And if you keep propagating that same realization, you're going to get stuck. And you're going to realize, like, when I feel bad about myself, I'm going to return back to the loving compassion practices because I feel as though that makes me feel better. And I think the reality of the time of history that we're in is there's something called the divine mind. The divine mind is when you begin to, when you've integrated your traumas, your wounds, you've explored the other sides, the other polarities, and you have found a place within yourself to know yourself no matter what. And you can call yourself out when you may not be willing to look at yourself fully, and you're starting to rely on practices that keep you safe. And you're also able to call yourself out if you tend to lean in the opposite direction of becoming that person that you once were, maybe that over-intellectual analyzer, overthinker. When you truly start to integrate who you are and you know yourself, number one, you don't need anyone else to tell you who to be, what to see, or what to do. You know what to do. You know that it's just limiting beliefs that's blocking you from your knowingness. And when we get to that stage, when we start to understand who we are, where our short-sightedness lies, where our tendencies lie, where we get off track, when we start to have a greater understanding of who we are, then the next level of development is to, whenever you're feeling something, instead of looking outside for answers and seeking to listen to other people that are going to comfort you or challenge you or whatever it may be, you got to do that yourself. You got to say, okay, where am I stuck here? What am I thinking? What happened? And you come to the conclusion within your own mind as a sovereign being. And then the work is to, how do I continue to move out of these comfort zones and get into that state of, continuing to grow and evolve. I'm not saying that being comfortable is bad, but being comfortable and settling for lives that aren't full and our full potential have got us into the mess that we're in today. So incorporating the divine mind, the aspects of the compassionate feminine, the loving feminine energy, with the proper masculine energy, which is right action in the world, right? These two forces need to really work together to create a divine mind that's coming from a realized heart and mind space. So again, I see, and I just wanted to mention today, this concept of let's be vulnerable, let's be soft. The reason that those movements are here is because we've all lived in the left brain for far too long, unbeknownst to us often, but now we're becoming more aware of it. So the reason this movement towards the coddling and emotional validation is because you haven't been aware that you've been so predominantly in your other side of your brain that you've completely abandoned your feminine side. So do the coddling, do the emotional validation, but not long. Because if you do it too long, you're gonna stop growing right there, and you're gonna keep going back to this state of, oh, I should just really take my time and move slow, and maybe I'll just take a salt bath today and relax, and I won't do anything. And I think that if any of us have truly looked out into the world right now, into our own families, into the struggles with our loved ones, personally, relationally, in our careers, systematically, we're falling apart. And taking a salt bath and being overly coddling to people who are facing trauma is not necessarily going to cut it in the long term. We all have aspects of trauma from varying degrees, and I'm fully in support of integrating your polar side. Take in that emotional validation, do what you need to do for an extended period of time, and then bring back your mind into your heart and take action from love and truth and wisdom. Thank you, guys.